Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Comeback Conversations. First of all, if you voted for this episode, thank you, because this is a really important one. And honestly, I think that it's one that a lot more women are dealing with than people realized. Today, we're talking about the loneliness that can creep in when the kids need you less. And, well, because for years, maybe even decades, your life has been and had a very clear role. You were needed, you were relied on, you were busy, you were doing everything for everyone. You were solving problems, sorting things out, getting people where they needed to be, thinking ahead, and keeping everything ticking. And then one day, slowly or suddenly, things change. The kids get older, they become more independent, they don't need you in the same way. They're out more. They've got their own lives, their own routines, their own priorities. And you're left in this really strange place where, on paper, you should maybe feel relieved. But in reality, you can actually you can feel a bit lost, a bit empty, a bit flat, and sometimes really lonely. And I want to say right from the start, if that's you, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. That does not make you weak or ungrateful or dramatic, and definitely doesn't make you a bad mum. It makes you a human. Because when you spent so much of your time, of your life being needed, of course it's not gonna of course it's gonna feel strange when that changes. So in this episode I want to talk honestly about why this happens, why it can hit harder than people expect, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it. Not just cope with it, but to start building a life that feels full, exciting, connected, and like yours again. I think one of the biggest reasons this can feel so hard is because it's not just about the kids needing you less. It's about what the change reveals. Because for years, your identity may have been built around being the one that people needed, the one who was always there, the one who always put others first, the one who kept going, the one who gave and gave. And when that role changes, it can leave this really uncomfortable question sitting there, whether you say it out loud or not. Who am I now? And that's a big question because maybe for years you haven't really had the time, space, or energy to answer it. Maybe your whole life has been about everyone else. Maybe your schedule, your decisions, your routine, your priorities, even how you saw yourself, all got shaped by being a mum and being needed. So when that changes, it's not just the house that feels quieter, it's that you suddenly hear your own thoughts more clearly. And sometimes that can be quite uncomfortable. Sometimes that quiet brings up feelings you've been too busy to notice: loneliness, frustration, sadness, maybe even a lack of purpose, even even resentment at how much of yourself you've lost along the way. And that's why I think this topic matters so much. Because a lot of women don't actually need someone to tell them to just keep busy. They need someone to say, I see why this feels hard, and no, you're not the only one. This is really important. Loneliness is not always about physically being on your own. You can be around people and still feel lonely. You can be married and feel lonely. You can have a family around you and feel lonely. You can be in a group chat, have things going on, have people in your life, and still feel like something is missing. Why? Because loneliness often comes from a lack of connection, not just a lack of company. And when the kids need you less, sometimes what you realize is that so much of your connection was wrapped up in being useful, being needed, being busy, being in demand. And when that changes, you can feel like you've lost not only routine, but relevance. And again, that's not because you're irrelevant, it's because you've been so used to giving yourself through one role that now you've got to rediscover yourself outside of it. And that takes time, but it is possible. And actually, I think it can become one of the most powerful phases of your life if you let it. Now, before I go on to what helps, I want to quickly talk about what doesn't help. Because when women start feeling this emptiness or loneliness, a lot of them do what they've always done. They push it down, they minimize it, they tell themselves they should just be grateful. They pretend they're fine. They distract themselves with food, wine, scrolling, or just constantly staying busy. And look, I get it. It is easier to numb things than to face them. But the problem is, if you keep avoiding it, it doesn't go away. It just sits there underneath everything, and then it shows up in other ways. You feel flat. You stop looking after yourself. You lose motivation. You feel low in confidence. You start emotionally eating. You stop making plans. You withdraw more. You convince yourself this is just how life is now. And I really want to challenge that because this does not have to be how life is now. This chapter can feel different, but it's not going to change by accident. You have to make a decision at some point that you are not going to let this season of your life become one where you slowly disappear. So, what do you do first? Well, the first thing's really simple but not always easy. Tell the truth. Tell the truth to yourself. Not the polished version, not the I'm okay, I'm just tired version, not the it's silly really version, the truth. And maybe the truth is I feel a bit lost. I don't know who I am outside of looking after everyone else. I feel more lonely than I want to admit. I've spent far too long focusing on everyone else that I don't know what I enjoy anymore. I thought I'd feel more free at this stage, but I actually feel a bit sad. That honesty matters because you cannot rebuild a life you love from a place of pretending. And there's something very powerful about naming what you're feeling because once you name it, you can work on it. This is this is probably one of the biggest things I want women to hear. And so many women have spent years only giving themselves permission to do things when everyone else is sorted first. Once the kids are okay, once the house is sorted, once the work calms down, once everyone else has what they need, then maybe I'll think about me. And the truth is, if that's been your pattern for years, you don't suddenly snap out of it just because the kids are older. You can still stay in that waiting mode, waiting for a reason, waiting for confidence, waiting for someone to invite you, until you feel more like yourself, waiting until it feels easier. But your next chapter is probably going to begin when you stop waiting to be needed and start deciding that you matter anyway, that your life matters anyway, that your energy, health, confidence, friendships, joy, routine, body, mind, all of it matters, even if nobody is demanding it from you. That is such a powerful shift because you're not living reactively, you're now living intentionally. One of the worst things for loneliness is too much empty, unstructured time. Because when you feel a bit low or lost already, too much unplanned time can quickly turn into overthinking, scrolling, snacking, and feeling even worse. So rather than waiting to feel motivated, I think one of the best things you can do is rebuild some structure. Not a packed, stressful routine, just some anchors, simple things in your week that give you rhythm and connection. That might be a morning walk, a gym session, a class, a coffee with a friend every Thursday morning, a new hobby once a week, a volunteer role, a set time you leave the house, a regular phone call, a plan for your evenings instead of just drifting into the sofa and snacking. Because structure helps create momentum, and momentum helps shift mood. This is one of the reasons fitness can be so powerful, by the way. Not because it just changes your body, but because it gives you a reason to get up, move, focus, improve, build confidence, and prove to yourself that you still matter. Sometimes the gym or a daily walk is not just about the calories or fat loss. Sometimes it's the first act of self-respect a woman has shown herself in years. And that truly matters. Another big one, don't just distract yourself, build connection. There's a difference. Distraction might numb the feeling for a bit. Connection actually helps heal it. And for a lot of women, this is well, this is the part that feels hardest because you can get out of the habit of reaching out. You might think, oh, I don't want to bother other people. Everyone's busy. Don't even know where to start. It feels awkward. Or I should be able to handle this on my own. But the truth is, most meaningful connection starts because someone makes the first move. So maybe that's you. Message the friend, join the class, say yes to the coffee, start the conversation, go to the group. Put yourself in rooms where people are trying to best themselves because if you keep waiting until you feel fully confident, well, you're just going to stay stuck. Confidence often comes after action, not before it. And I think this is something I've discussed before, but again, women really needed to hear. You're allowed to create a life that has people in front of you, not just because you're someone's mum, not just because you're helping someone, not just because you're needed, but because you deserve friendship, fun, support, laughter, challenge, and a community too. Now, obviously, you all know I'm big on health, fitness, confidence, routine, all the rest of it, all of that. But I think sometimes women believe that what they need is just to lose a bit of weight and then everything will feel better. And yes, feeling fitter, stronger, healthier, and more confident does absolutely help. But sometimes what's really missing is not just a smaller body, it's a stronger identity. It's feeling like you again, or maybe for some women, meeting a new version of yourself for the first time. A version that that doesn't only exist to serve everyone else. A version that has boundaries, that has goals, that goes after things, that values her own health, that gets excited about life again, that has plans, that can enjoy her kids growing up without feeling like she's fading away. And that's the goal. Not to go backwards, not to cling to the old season, but to grow into the next one. Now, this is another important point. You can be proud of your kids becoming independent and still feel sad. You can be grateful and still lonely. You can love being a mum and still miss being needed in the same way. These things can exist together. And I think sometimes women judge themselves for that. They think, why am I upset? This is what's meant to happen. Yes, it is, but that does not make the transition emotionless. There's a kind of grief in any major life shift, not because something has gone wrong, but because something has changed. And change can hurt even when it's healthy. So let yourself feel it, but don't build your home there. Feel it, acknowledge it, honor it, and then ask, what do I want this next chapter to look like? That question changes everything because now you're no longer just reacting to what has gone. You're starting to shape what comes next. So let me give you some really practical things now. If you're in this place, here are a few things that genuinely help. One, get out of the house on purpose. Not just to do errands, not just because you have to. Actually plan reasons to leave the house that are for you. Walk, gym, coffee, class, bookshop, anything. I know it's a bit different from my perspective, but I leave the house and go on a walk every morning and get a coffee because a change of environment changes energy more than people realize. Two, move your body consistently. This is huge. Not because exercise solves everything overnight, but because it improves mood, confidence, routine, energy, stress, and self belief. And when you're feeling low, having a non negotiable moment like movement can be the thing that keeps you anchored. Three, create one thing in your week that is yours, one thing that belongs to you. Not your family, not your job, not your chores, yours. A class, a hobby, a group, a goal, a run, a coaching check in. Something that reminds you you're still growing too. Four, reach out before you feel ready. Send the text, make the plan, start the conversation. Do not wait until loneliness has become isolation. Five, watch the emotional eating and numbing. Because when women feel empty emotionally, they often try to fill it physically. Food, wine, snacks, scrolling. Again, no judgment, but notice it. Ask yourself, am I hungry Or am I lonely? Do I need food right now, or do I need comfort, connection, or a change of state? That awareness is powerful. Number six, set a goal that has nothing to do with anyone else. A health goal, a confidence goal, a fitness challenge, a personal project. Something that gets you looking forward again, because goals create direction, and direction is a brilliant antidote to drifting. I think this is going to be the heart of the episode, really. For so many women, the moment the kids need them less feels like an ending. And yes, in one sense, it's the end of a chapter, but it can also be the beginning of one. It can be the beginning of you getting yourself back, your confidence back, your energy back, your body back, your independence back, your social life back, your spark back. And I don't mean becoming someone totally different. I mean reconnecting with the parts of you that got buried under that responsibility for so many years. Or maybe building parts of you that never got the chance to fully develop in the first place. Now, that is not selfish. That is not abandoning anyone. That is growth. And actually, one of the biggest things you can do for your kids, even when they're older, is show them what it looks like for a woman to still have her own life, her own standards, her own joy, her own identity. That is powerful. So, if you are quietly listening to this and thinking, this is me, I just want to say this to you. You're not behind, you're not washed up, you're not past it. You are not just a mum. You're not silly for feeling this. And this is not all life gets to be from here. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to want connection. You're allowed to want confidence. You're allowed to want excitement again. You're allowed to want to feel attractive, strong, energized, and purposeful. You're allowed to take up space in your own life again. And no, you don't need to have that all figured out today. You just need to stop abandoning yourself. That's the real starting point. Not a perfect plan, not huge motivation, not a magical Monday. Just a decision that you're going to keep putting yourself, well, no, that you're not going to keep. Just a oh, I can't get my words out. Just a decision that you are not going to keep yourself at the bottom of the list. So that's what I want to leave with you today. If the kids need you less now, that does not mean your purpose is gone. It means that there is space for a new purpose to grow. And yes, that can feel lonely at first, but loneliness does not have to be where your story stays. This can be the season where you reconnect with yourself, where you can build your confidence back, get stronger, create better routines, find your people, or where you stop waiting and start living. And if this episode hit home for you, I'd really encourage you not to just listen and move it on. Actually ask yourself, what is the one thing I can do this week for me? One step, one action, one decision, one act of self respect. Start there. And if this episode has helped you, share it with another woman who might need to hear it too. And as always, thank you so much for listening to the Comeback Conversations. And I will speak to you in the next episode.